Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Representative Burgess, for the very, very hard work that you've put into this bill. What I'm offering here is an amendment to this bill because the reality is that current law says that for first responders who are suffering from mental injuries like PTSD, they are not eligible for lost wages under workers' comp unless those mental injuries are accompanied by a physical injury of some sort. So what this amendment will do is make a simple change to the bill, which will say that first responders no longer need to have a accompanying physical injury to receive benefits. What they still do need to do is they still need to file a claim under workers' comp. They still need a medical determination from their doctor to be eligible for those lost wages. And if passed, Florida would be the sixth state in the nation that offers full workers' compensation benefits to first responders for mental injuries like PTSD. Now, I know that many of you are aware of how serious a condition PTSD is. Our first responders are 10 times more likely to attempt suicide than the average person. So we know that PTSD is real. Now, I want to thank Representative Miller because much of the substance of this amendment is the substance of a bill that he has filed along with Senator Torres. And yesterday in a Senate committee, this bill passed unanimously through that Senate committee. It is supported by the Fraternal Order of Police. It is supported by the Police Benevolent Association. And look, I've had some really, really good conversations with Representative Burgess. I know many of you are veterans, so you understand how serious PTSD really is. And the reality is that I'm bringing this amendment forward because so many of our first responders back at home really need these benefits. They need these benefits not because workers' comp coverage is going to fix PTSD. It's not. But because having full access to these benefits for our first responders who keep our communities safe is what so many of these families will need to be able to care for themselves during the journey to recovery. Now, I want to share with you a quick personal story as to why I filed this amendment and what some of our first responders in Orlando are experiencing. On June 12th, 2016, yesterday in the Senate committee, we heard the story about how on that day, Jessica Reelan told her husband, Officer Reelan, not to go and not to respond. It was a tough call. But he knew he had to take this call on June 12th. And what she said in the Senate committee yesterday stayed with me for a really, really long time because I heard it last fall. She said that the husband that left on that day, on June 12th, to respond to the tragedy at the Pulse nightclub still has not come back. Still has not come back because of so many of the mental injuries that have been sustained as a result of this experience. Representative Burgess, you understand how our veterans are coping with PTSD because it's the sounds and smells that trigger some of the trauma. So I ask you, members, imagine just for one moment hearing the sounds of a cell phone ringing being what triggers post-traumatic stress. Because the sound of a cell phone ringing is what brings you back to that night where you enter a dark nightclub and all you hear are the sounds of cell phones ringing in stereo that will never be answered, that will never be picked up. I know what Officer Reeland's family has shared with us, with our community, and I know that they're sincere, which is that our pain is their pain. And for many of these first responders who see trauma and who see what is like a war zone every single day, I know that they need these benefits to be able to begin that path to recovery. So I applaud Representative Burgess for working so hard on this bill. And what I have talked to Representative Burgess and Representative Miller about, because Representative Miller has very honestly and authentically carried this issue this session. And I know that in his heart, it's something that he believes in, because we're seeing what's happening to our first responders suffering from PTSD who don't have full access to workers' comp in our community. But I have been given the assurance by Representative Burgess that this issue is one that we will tackle together next session, and the session after that, and the session after that, if that's what it takes, for us to make sure that we're taking care of our first responders who spend every single day making sure that our communities are safe and taking care of us. So with that, I respectfully withdraw my amendment, and I applaud Representative Burgess for working with me on this, and to Representative Miller for bringing this issue forward. Thank you, Madam Speaker.